Welcome to the Double Barrel Podcast, everybody. My name is Justin.
And I'm Chris.
And this week we've got pistols.
2 of them.
Well, 2 and 1.
2 and 1. All right.
2 pistols, but they're the same pistol, because this is one that is good enough that we've both put it in our collection.
Well, to be very honest, let's be honest with this.
No.
Not technically, they were ours, not ours.
They're ours and not ours. They're in our collection. We acquired them for our wives to shoot because they are 22 long rifle pistols, which is, as we've said numerous times, the perfect beginner caliber.
Absolutely. Here's what's crazy about the whole thing, though.
Well, even then, it's still a good gun.
Absolutely. And we have a blast with these. What I find hilarious, though, is before you and I even met, we bought these.
Is
and
this
we're
true?
like, hold on, wait. Your wife has a. Well, my wife has a. Oh, okay. So we're seeing a trend here.
Yeah, we bought our wives the same thing for the same reason.
For the same reason.
Now, neither one of them really uses it overly much, but
They still use it.
They still use it. We still have a great time with.
All right, Justin, before we actually get into the meat of everything here, it's safe to say that we're kind of being festive today.
No, you're being festive. I'm being shanghaied.
You're being... For everybody watching this, Justin is not really a Christmas guy.
We said this on the Johnny Walker episode, that I don't care for holidays. It's not that I hate them. I have no love for them and I don't care for them. However, Christmas episode, we got to have some festivity. And
what's more festive than a Santa hat? An ugly sweater. Show yours off.
No. They'll see it when we do the drinks in a minute.
Okay. It's very him, folks. Like, I love it. It's awesome.
It's a good one. Anyway, let's dive into this. The Walther P22.
First off, before we go any further, we need to go over safety as always. Justin, as always, please take us through our rules here.
See, and I don't know why he can never do our rules, but we'll go through them.
You just do them so well, so that's why I like it.
All right, that's fair. The first is obviously always treat every firearm as if it is loaded. Mm-hmm. Second, keep finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Third is never point the weapon at anything you're not willing to destroy. And fourth, never mix your guns and your alcohol. That's never a good thing. Mm-hmm. We don't condone that. We don't support that.
Neither does Santa.
You're getting way too festive with this. But anyway, let's dive right into reliability of the Walther P22 pistol.
All right. Would you like to go first or would you like me to go first on this one?
You go ahead and take this one away.
Okay, reliability. For a lot of people who are somewhat familiar with 22 pistols, it's no secret that the Walther P22 can sometimes be a little bit picky.
Well, it can be picky, but I think it's more of just the round itself is a picky round.
It is. It depends on the firearm that you have. It may like, okay, I got a box of Remingtons. It may love those, but then you get a box like Winchesters. It's like, oh, I hate these, so I'm not going to feed them. That's kind of the overall trend we see a little bit with some of the pistols.
Let me give an example of why. This is the 22 long rifle bullet.
Dang, look at how small that thing is. Look at that thing. That thing is puny.
It is tiny. I mean, for most of you, you're not even going to be able to see this, but that is your bullet. It's very short, very small in diameter.
We'll put a screenshot up for everybody to see.
Yeah, we'll take a shot of this up close and superimpose it. This thing, the tip, what is that?
Well, depending on how old it is, it's either lead or newer ones are going to be copper or some type of
You can't.
metal.
It's still lead. It's all still lead.
It's a full lead tip.
And so the lead gets onto the casing, and that gums it up and causes it to jam a little bit.
Correct.
And so, just depending on how the things are boxed, it has
Well, and
feed
to
issues.
be fair, though, this is classified as a rimfire weapon, which means that for those of you that are not aware the difference between a centerfire and a rimfire, we're going to touch on that here real fast for everybody.
Well, I got me here a
Oh,
9mm bullet for
geez,
comparison.
we came prepared today, folks.
So both handguns are on. They're about the same length. The 22 is a little bit shorter.
Hey, let's just do this here. Let's put them down right there, bud.
Put them down right here in front of the magazine. You can see that the 22 is a little bit shorter, but look how much littler.
Look at the diameter on that round there, folks.
And on the back here, and we'll have pictures. The 9mm has a little primer right there in the middle. And then the 22 doesn't.
That's nothing. It's just flat.
And that's the difference between a rimfire and a centerfire. Is the rimfire actually has the primer right here in the rim of the bullet of the shell casing, and a centerfire has this little primer right here in the middle.
Interesting note for everybody here: do not dry fire these weapons, because when you dry fire these, the firing pin, since it's meant to work around the rim of the cartridge, actually goes in and smacks the steel, and actually over time of you doing that will damage the firing pin, and you'll have to replace the firing pin.
You'll snap it straight off.
Exactly. Centerfire works a little bit differently because the firing pin is center of the barrel.
So it goes, as you pull the trigger, the rimfire smacks right here, side of the barrel, and, over time damages it. Centerfire, the firing pin goes right in the hole.
Yep.
Misses everything.
Everything.
And so it's fine.
Well, hold on a second.
It's not fine, but it's better.
Well, yeah. I thought I saw some other bags, some other goodies down in there. Grab a couple of those.
We'll talk about those when we get into cost.
Look at this guy. He's not into holidays, but he's over here being Santa Claus with his bag, dude. Oh,
I have a few things I want to talk about later when we get into like versatility and cost.
Okay. Anyway, let's get back to reliability. All right. Gun's been good. Been great. Love to shoot it. Again, I have it's a 22. We have a jam here. We have a jam there. It's fired everything I put down the pipe. Sometimes we have a failure to eject. Sometimes we have a failure to feed. Again, I just call it par for the course with this handgun. However, extremely accurate, extremely good gun.
Oh, it's a wonderful gun. Very accurate, very good. And it does shoot everything that goes in there. But you are going to have an occasional feed and an occasional eject issue because of the fouling or the dirtiness of shell casing. And so that is going to be, for me, it's going to take it down to a 4 on reliability.
Okay.
And
I'm going to give it 4 too. I think it deserves a strong 4. There's only one 22 handgun, and we'll review it at a later date, that I've ever owned that has literally fed and shot everything that I have ever put down its barrel.
Well, this thing is that on these, I think any semi-auto 22 is the max on reliability it can get is a 4 because of the inherent dirtiness and jammability of the round itself.
Oddly enough, the one that I'm talking about is actually a semi-automatic. Believe it or not.
I'll believe it when I see it.
You will
Personally,
see it at a later date.
I don't think any of them are going to get above a 4 for me.
We will take that out and we will see if we can. We will see what we get there.
Right.
All right. So you agree with me on everything though with reliability then?
Yeah, I agree with you on everything on reliability, and so it gets a solid 4 for both of us because great gun. It'll shoot everything. So this one actually has a full ambidextrous safety and full ambidextrous mag release. It's the European style mag release, but it's actually fully ambidextrous, and I really like that about this particular gun.
And you're not really a big fan of the European style mag releases, if I'm not mistaken. You love them, you hate them, you can take them kind of deal, right?
I feel like that's how it is with the European mag release. You either you love it, you hate it, or you meh.
And I'm weird. I really love them, but that's because I have shorter fingers. I really enjoy.
Well, we've talked about it.
We have.
You like that one. For me, I don't really care either way.
You go either.
A mag release is a mag release.
It's kind of like a Glock. You either love it or hate it, and you got some weirdos out there like myself that are like, it depends.
It depends on the moment. Yeah, this.
It's a moment.
Wow. No, the European mag release on this doesn't bother me at all. The Glock bothers me, but we'll talk about that when we talk about a Glock.
Absolutely. All right, Justin.
So,
what do you give it then?
Well, let's dive into versatility before we actually score versatility.
Okay.
.22 round can't really do much.
It's very limited. It is.
It's very limited. And we had 22 round sitting out there, and it's, there's a snap cap that's a good representation of it, and it can't do much. Then you have your 9mm round, do a little bit more than the 22.
What's interesting though to me here is we're actually comparing two of the most modern day popular cartridges out there. Period.
This is true. The 9mm and the 22 long rifle are two of the most popular handgun rounds out there, and the 9mm can do more damage and do more things than the 22 long rifle can. Mm-hmm. But then you get into 6.5 Creedmoor, which is what I took hunting this year.
Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, those are your...
these are my hand loads.
Those are your hand loads, yep.
This is the 270 and that Ruger Mark 77, M77 Mark II that we reviewed previously.
And that is definitely one of your reloads, I can tell.
Yep. And then we have your 300 Win Mag.
And that is a factory Hornady ELDX.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, though, may I go grab something? Because if we're going to compare rifles that we've reviewed before, we're missing one. May I go grab that cartridge? Because that one's kind of a cool one, too.
That one is kind of a cool one, too. As far as size goes, it fits kind of right there.
It kind of fits right there. I'll be right back, folks. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I'm going to go into the back room here and...
Yes, while he's doing that, the 6.5 is the one that I took hunting this year. It's what I shot my deer with this year. And we talked about that a little bit in the hunting episode, where it's a great round for medium game. But this one, the 270, we talked for, again, it's great medium game round. And it is also it's on a 30-06 shell case, but the 22 long rifle can't really do much. We will in a little bit.
All right, folks, so I'm back. Let's take a look here. And this is actually a reload, too. This is one my dad made.
This is a reload. And that is the 308.
That is the 308 Winchester, yes. And what's interesting to me, though, is if you look at the 6.5 versus the 308, we're almost splitting hairs here.
We are, except for the diameter of the bullet.
Correct.
But so for versatility, it falls more to the round than the gun.
Absolutely.
However, this gun is great for, taking out, shooting small varmint.
Yep.
In its little 22 round, but it can't do half the stuff that the 9mm can, and can't do a third or, even a quarter. Oh, you're going as far as an eighth as the rest of these. And so for versatility, it drops way down for me to a 2.
Here's the thing. How we score these, it's got to get a 2 also, and here's why it's got to get a 2. Everything you just said. And we have a size comparison chart here. This isn't even all the handgun rounds and calibers that I have.
Oh, no. There are many more than this. We'll get rid of these for now.
We'll get into that later, folks. This is just... It is what it is. The round's been around for over 100 years.
It's a great little round for, like we said, varmint hunting, which is rabbits, squirrels, things that will destroy a farmer's crops.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect round for target shooting.
Target shooting and teaching, absolutely, hands down. So we're in agreements. It gets a 2 then.
It gets a 2.
All right, let's move down the list into our next one. What we got next there, buddy?
Next is shootability, and that's one we like to talk about. Teaching. This is the perfect gun.
Absolutely.
For teaching.
Well, and in all of our videos, this is where this gets really interesting to me, folks, is in all of our videos, we have at one point or another referenced a 22 long rifle. Here it is.
Here's one of them. This is the pistol version. Mm-hmm. You can also get the 22 long rifle in, a
rifle. And we will review mine eventually.
Yeah, we'll get into that on a later episode. But this is the gun you take out for the first time. This and that rifle that you have are the two first guns you put in somebody's hand. because this has almost no recoil, almost no noise out of it, especially if you buy the subsonic ammo.
And it's cheap.
Cheap as hell.
And it's not a scary. It's just, it's what you start people on.
Yeah.
And not only that, though, I'm going to go one step further and say, even for advanced, and I consider us more in the advanced category of shooter, to your expert professional, everybody loves these things.
Oh, absolutely. Because this thing can do, when you're target shooting, does everything you want it to do.
Well, and not only that, here, let's take it one step further even. This is kind of neat here. Both of our guns here have the setup to have, believe it or not, folks, there are versions of these that are used in competitions, competition shooting. Our guns right here both have the lugs and the frame, the pick rails, the whole entire setup to be turned into the competition-style weapons that professionals and expert shooters use. Even in the Olympics, 22, it's the only gun that's shot in the Olympics.
In the biathlon, they
Well,
use
I take that back. There's Olympic. You know, sorry, skeet shooters, my fellow skeet shooters. I am so sorry. Please forgive me on that.
I would slap it for you, but
Winter Olympics. I get a point. It's the only gun shot in Winter Olympics.
there you go.
All right, cool. I redeemed myself just a little bit.
A little bit.
I'm gonna have to.
However,
shoot some
you
skeet
know,
now.
it being Christmas and all, you got to forgive people. Isn't that what Christmas is all about? Is forgiving your fellow man when they, and bringing joy to your fellow man.
Family.
I mean, that's what Thanksgiving's all about. But sure,
Christmas is family without the food. As much food.
I guess.
I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know.
Moving on.
Anyway, this gun, as far as shootability, is going to get a solid 5.
No argument. It's a solid 5. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but we agree on every reason of why.
Yeah.
There
There
is
is no
nothing.
disagreement on this gun.
Even with it being the European style mag release,
Well, like I said,
it's not even it can't even, it's such an easy transition on this weapon.
See, and this thing is, this one, because of how narrow the grip is, even if you like the American style mag releases,
You can still smack that guy.
it still functions almost the exact same way.
absolutely.
It's don't let the European mag release deter you if you don't like the European mag releases. On this one, you don't even notice.
No.
But let's dive into the last,
And either
the most painful category of guns.
The second or first thing everybody thinks about when buying a gun, and that is cost. Okay, I think I paid $320, $329 for this.
Yeah, I paid $299.
$30, $20, $30 difference. Wow, and we're talking early gen, late gen of the basically same gen.
And I might be one gen before you, but
You might actually.
we're not sure. We haven't looked at the serial numbers to find out when they were manufactured. But either way, this gun is a perfect little. You called it a stocking stuffer earlier. I wouldn't say stocking stuffer, but I would say if you have a gun lover in your life,
Absolutely.
and you want to buy them a gun, then they don't have this. Send them to the store with $300 plus tax and fees, and this is going to be a perfect little everyday go out shoot,
And
never
just have
break the
fun.
bank gun.
And they're so cheap to shoot. I actually think the most expensive version of this gun you can buy factory off the shelf is the stainless steel competition model, and it's like $450.
I want to say I saw it for $459.
Something like that. I don't know what it's at, but it's got all the bells and whistles on it for $450. But yet, just the bare bones model that we have,
It's $150 less.
and again, I gotta give it a 5. There's, in the world of guns, and as reliable and as good and as fun as this little gun is, nothing less than a 5 will suffice for what it is in the cost category. Absolutely.
I have to agree with you, because this little gun in the cost category it's not a hunting gun. It's not a take it in the field, defend yourself gun. It is a go play around gun.
Or teach gun.
And a teaching gun. And for $300, you're not spending a hell of a lot to do it.
Nope.
But it works fantastic for its purposes. It's perfectly priced, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And the ammo for it is super cheap.
And it's actually available now.
It's available in excessive abundance if you know where to look. But this is one of the few guns that I think you and I agree across the board
Question
on
though,
this.
Before we get our final scores, how many rounds have you had on that?
I've had 1,500, 1,600.
Okay. I've had about 12 to 1,500. And that's what I love about these 22s, and especially something like this gun, where I have family members that have guns that are older than both of us. Almost older than, I think they're like 3rd gen or 2nd gen. When they get to us, probably 3rd gen, 4th gen. And they still shoot beautifully.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, as long as you take good care of this.
Oh, you'll give it to your kids, your grandkids, and maybe even your great-grandkids will inherit
yeah.
it eventually.
As long as you don't do, like we've said, don't dry fire it because that firing pin smacks the side of the barrel.
However, though, just to let everybody know, just in case that does happen, eventually all firing pins do wear out in 22s. It's the nature of the beast. Eventually they do. They aren't that expensive, and they aren't that difficult to actually replace.
No, they're not. And if you know a good gunsmith like Brent over at...
Absolutely, over at Lakes Guns and Gunsmithing, yep.
Super cheap to do.
He can probably do it in less than an hour. That's a quick in and out job. Easy.
Exactly. So, but yeah, these are great guns. They last generations. And they can go through the generations because through the generations, the 22 has always been the cheapest, best plinking round there is.
Well, let's look at it for what it really was designed for. It was designed as a round that, because back in the day, what were we? We were pioneers, we were farmers, ranchers. I was the majority of civilization. And when you had a rodent problem,
and you didn't want to scare your livestock or your wife,
you say, here, son, here's the 22, go. And that's what it was used for.
And that was his chore. I miss those days. I wish that was
We're not that old.
I know.
We're not old enough for that.
I know. But I still wish those were my chores growing up. Here, have a gun, go shoot the squirrels.
Yeah, do you want all the other chores that came with it?
No. I just want that one.
See, that's the thing, though.
There's a major trade-off.
My dad and his siblings actually grew up for a while on an actual ranch. My grandfather actually owned a ranch. I heard some of the chores that existed, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Nice.
I've done some of the chores as well. I know I would not want those to be my daily chores.
All right, what's the overall? What we got here?
Before we get into overall,
okay,
I want to point out one other thing about this gun that I love and is amazing. Sure. We talked about how it has the full ambidextrous everything, but it is a perfect left-handed shooter gun.
Oddly enough, that's the whole reason why I had my wife get this one. Is it was something that she didn't grow up with guns. She never really had anything to do with guns. And when she met me, she's like, okay, well, I would like to learn how to shoot a gun. It seems fun. And I went, okay, now I've got to think here because I'm right-handed. However, I have a lot of members in the family that are left-handed shooters. And I had to really think about that. And I even asked my dad, I asked my uncle, who are both left-handed, and I said, hey, guys, I need some help here. And my dad said, well, here. My uncle said, look at this one. And ultimately, we settled on this one.
Settled? Settled? You're going to insult the Walther P22 like that.
Well, we didn't settle on this. Settle in the sense of, out of all the options, we zeroed in on this one. I get you're giving me crap. It's all good.
I'm giving you crap on it, but...
And Alicia, my wife, we're going to cut that out. And my wife went and held this in the store, looked at it, felt it, did what, you do in a store, examined it. And she went, you know what? I'm going to trust you. Let's go ahead and get it. She got it. About 2 weeks later, we went out in the desert, and she shot it. She actually absolutely enjoyed it. She loved it. What was interesting to me, though, is she had been introduced to a perfect firearm for someone like her being a left-handed shooter, because she eventually worked her way up to, believe it or not, one of my 9mm.
Yeah.
And it was the Beretta.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that one's not fully ambidextrous.
That one has to have, you have to swap a couple. Actually, that one might actually have a, I can't remember.
I think that one's a swap, like the HK.
Either the FN or the Beretta is not a swap. I can't remember which one's not. Anyway.
I don't remember. Well, when we get into that,
Actually,
we'll
the
talk about
Beretta is a swap one. But anyway, my wife took it to the range. She loved shooting that. And it's a full frame 9. It's the military 9.
Yeah, right.
And, however, though, she came back to me after she was done shooting and said, okay, now I kind of understand the whole love-hate relationship between handguns and left-handed shooters. Like, what do you mean? Well, I couldn't, and I was like, you couldn't drop the mag. She's like, yeah, the safety was the same, everything was the same, but I couldn't. I said, okay, now that's why I took that into, because the Beretta is mine. I bought the Beretta because I love Beretta, and she's like, so, wow, I guess that's something I've really got to think about now. Whenever I want to buy another handgun, I've got to make sure that I actually can operate the mechanics of a weapon.
Especially with an American-style mag release, if you're left-handed, that mag release is there.
Yeah, you're gonna fat finger it on the index there.
I mean, there's a move you can do to do it, but it's not comfortable.
No.
And so,
like my dad would usually do this. He does that weird where he'll kick the thumb back.
Well, I don't even know how to do it, but it's one of those.
It's a really weird move that only left-handed people have figured out how to do, because you either adapt and overcome, or you don't do it.
Where you swap hands for mag change.
And that is just a mess.
Yeah, so that's one of the major things I love about this is it is ready to go, fully ambidextrous, out of the box,
Well, it's
for
what we
right
talked
or
about
lefty.
before. The only thing that's not, and I don't even consider a slide release, it's a slide catch on this gun. That's
I agree, because, and this is one of the differences between yours and mine. Yours, you can just pull that and slide it forward even with nothing in the magazine.
This is the thing he's talking about, folks. His doesn't do that. His actually has to have the mag dropped or have a round ready to feed into the chamber to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That is different. Here's the other really cool thing about this. You want to practice some quick mags, some tech mag chains out. Literally, that thing shoots those things out.
It kicks them out. Like, you could have the gun upside down and it'll pop the mag halfway out.
Let's try that here. Actually, I've done that before. I've had that thing canted, and it's just... So you can do, kind of like... And I mean, it almost launches that thing completely.
Right. It just...
But I mean, that thing just shoots out. It's...
As far as practicing quick mag changes, this
great
thing...
one to deal with.
It is, because it kicks the mag out. It doesn't just drop it.
Yeah,
it kicks it. And so it's a wonderful little gun. But here's the best part.
What's that?
And I said earlier that you and I have no disagreements across the board on this gun.
No.
We have no disagreements across the board on this gun.
What's the score?
You give it a 16.
Really? Okay.
I give it 16. And all down the categories, we agreed on score. We both gave it a 4 on reliability.
I don't know if that's... I don't know if it's ever going to happen again.
It likely will never happen again because we have differences on everything.
Yeah, except this. We have agreed on everything.
We both give it a 4 on reliability.
My God,
we both give it a 2 on versatility. We both give it a 5 on shootability and cost.
Wow.
It is just a...
It's a Christmas miracle, man.
It is. And it will likely never happen again.
Most likely not.
Because we each have very different opinions on every other gun that we do. But this one... We agree on everything across the board.
Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us. Now we get to the other fun part of this. And what hour is it?
It's happy hour.
5 o'clock somewhere, ladies and gentlemen.
He's not going to be happy.
Remember, I got a lot of crap, too, that can make you drop.
I mean, that's fair.
And no. That's the Lost Halloween episode you're thinking of.
I don't get to be the Grinch. I actually have to.
I don't know. How bad? Dude, come on, man. It's Christmas.
Yes, you know how I feel about Christmas. I'm doing this under protest. However,
I'm wearing festive gear under protest. I'm protesting this. Dude,
I don't want to be wearing the festive gear, but I am because it is.
I'm protesting by wearing the festive gear.
No, I'm protesting wearing the festive gear. You know what I mean.
I do know. All right.
Anyway,
folks,
we'll be right back.
We're gonna get everything put away.
We'll see you soon.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Double Barrel Podcast, and now we are back for the second half, and it is happy hour, and it's even a more special happy hour because it is Christmas happy hour. And the question we had to ask ourselves was, are we feeling naughty or are we feeling nice?
I know on our last episode, I had teased that this episode I was going to be very mean to you.
Yes, we did. So
and I was gonna pick something that you knew was absolutely horrible.
Rock gut.
Yep.
However, though, I think I might have swayed you a little bit because I have something almost as dangerous and off-putting as the rock gut.
He did, and you saw he threatened me, and I wasn't willing to go that far today.
It's like, what hill are you willing to die on today, my good friend?
And this time I wasn't willing to die on that hill. So
all right.
We've got in front of us
looks like we got
an old elk
candidates here.
And the Grey Goose.
One and only Goosey.
The standard at which you measure all the other vodkas.
I do. And I picked Old Elk today because this one is kind of special to us. Well, this is the bottle that we cracked in celebration of your deer harvest this past season. And we originally we said that whether we get an elk or a deer on our hunt, whoever gets the first harvest, we would crack this in celebration to a successful hunt. Well, no elk were taken. Justin took on the last night of the elk hunt, believe it or not, our deer hunt had been open for 2 nights. About 15 minutes left of
It was about
light.
10 or 15 minutes left of shootable light.
Justin harvested his very first buck deer. So congratulations to Justin on that this year. And we are going to celebrate this Christmas special podcast with none other than the bourbon that we took back and when we got back to camp we celebrated with.
Well, see, he said we were going to celebrate with that, and my initial response was, I'll have some, but I'm going to celebrate with something else. It's not what I've chosen here today. It was a different vodka.
It was.
But that we'll dig into.
Let's dig into it. All right, so who wants to go first here? How do you...
We've been kind of switching off, but I don't remember who went first last time.
Let's do Goose, because Goose is, like you said,
This is the standard at which you measure all vodka.
To be fair, I never was really exposed to a lot of vodkas. I was exposed to, you have Smirnoff, Absolute, and then this was your top tier to me, as throughout my experience with vodkas. Now that I have gotten into more vodkas, I have become more aware of what vodka is. However, yes, I still measure my vodkas with Goose.
You measure them based off of Goose because this, to you, was your top tier vodka that everyone gave you for a long, long time.
Well, and to be fair, though, Grey Goose has always been, you want a top tier vodka? Grey Goose, Grey Goose, Grey Goose. So, Grey Goose has a huge following.
It has a huge following.
I think that's alcohol abuse there, sir.
It is alcohol abuse. But,
to be fair,
it'll get over it.
The world of alcohol in general has evolved and expanded itself into so many different directions now that there is so much competition out there.
There is a ridiculous amount of competition out there for every single type of alcohol there is out there. And, it's not fair
It is and it isn't. All right, let's go to the nose.
Start with, our standard taste and aroma.
Like, I do get the kerosene, that hairspray, but it's not overwhelmingly come up and slap me in the face.
See, and you say you get kerosene and hairspray scent of it, and it's really not that bad.
No, I say it's there, but it's not like the Silver Dollar was where it came up and like, whoa, hey, look at it right in the nose there, buddy.
I mean, I will give you that the Silver Dollar on the nose happened to be much, much stronger.
Right.
However,
and I think this one, don't quote me, let me look at this. Is Grey Goose a potato? I think it is a potato vodka.
It is not. It is a French wheat vodka.
Okay, so this one is the French wheat vodka. Okay.
It is French wheat. So Grey Goose is imported from France, and France likes to think they do all alcohols the best.
Well, it meets basic criteria. It's 40% volume, which, as we discussed in our previous episodes, that is the minimum level that a vodka can be called a vodka.
In the United States, yes. But this is distilled from French wheat, and they make it with spring water from the French Alps, and then they filter it through limestone.
Interesting.
So that's how this one's made. Down the hatch.
Okay. No burn. And that was just initial palletizing. That's nothing there. Like,
see, and I disagree. To me, this had more burn than both Silver Dollar and Crystal Head.
well, what's weird to me now, hold on, is what I'm getting to. That second hit where I took that full shot, it's the back hit that I'm getting now. It's a lingering back burn. However, extremely smooth.
It's still a smooth vodka, but it's not the smoothest that we've had, I don't think. And it's not even, in my opinion, it's got some flavor there that I can't really put my finger on what the flavor is.
You know what it tastes like to me? Now that I've tried this, because it's been a while since I've tried Grey Goose because of all the vodkas that we've been experimenting with. It's almost like, okay, you remember the burn off the Elijah Craig?
Yes.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of that initial cinnamon clove hit that you get on that initial kick in the teeth from the bourbons and whiskeys.
I think that's a good way of describing it. For me, the aroma's not so bad.
No, it's not.
But the taste, I think there are others that are better, and we've tried a couple of them. For me, it's going to get a 3 on taste and aroma, because I don't think it is as good as it could be. And I think there are some others that we've tried that are just better.
I'm going to give it a 4. And the reason I'm going to give it a 4 is simply the fact of it's one of the only vodkas I can drink, and I literally don't fall over, or I don't cough or gag or struggle with.
Well, see, you say that, but we've had, this is the 4th vodka we've tried on this show.
Right.
Or, no. Third. Math. It is the 3rd vodka. No, this is the 4th. Because we did Silver Dollar on episode 1.
Crystal Head.
Then I did Johnny, and then I did Crystal Head. Mm-hmm. And then we just did the Aurora Borealis.
We did do the Aurora Borealis.
And so this is number 4 that we've had on here.
And the other one that didn't get me was the Aurora Borealis.
Right. But of the 4 that we've tried, 3 of them haven't knocked you on your butt.
Right. Still the only reason I'm still going to keep it. I'm giving it a 4 because
I'm not saying you have to change your score. I just think
it's still a very drinkable vodka for someone like that.
No, it is still a very drinkable vodka, but I don't think it is the best.
Obviously, in my opinion anymore, I believe there are going to be other vodkas out there, and there are other vodkas out there now where you go, okay, Grey Goose has definitely, it may not hold the title that it once held. I can honestly say that for certain that it.
What are you doing? You're leaving no room for the alcohol in there.
You haven't even had a shot and you're already tipsy?
I'm not tipsy, just...
Well, here, fine. I'll drink some orange juice.
There you go. Now we got some room for...
There you go. All right. Now let's move on to our next category, which is...
drinkability. Which, as we've talked about numerous times, refers to, you know, how well does it mix, and would you drink it alone, and would you order it at the bar during an open bar? This bottle just does not want
You
to
are struggling
cooperate.
tonight, aren't you?
It's the bottle. It doesn't want to cooperate.
It's French.
Right? Well, aren't French famous for their cooperation with foreign powers? Or invading powers?
I don't want it canceled.
It's a common stereotype. Really, you're just going to down it like that.
Yep. Here's the thing with the drinkability. I'm a weirdo, and I actually like to taste the alcohol in my vodka or in my alcohol.
He likes to taste the alcohol in his cocktails. Is what he's trying to say, folks. And just a few moments ago, he accuses me of being tipsy.
I know, and I'm not even there yet. I don't taste any. That's the thing. It fulfills what you tell me that I have to look for in a vodka: odorless and tasteless.
I'm not saying you have to look that.
Well,
That's what I look for. That's what I look for. Because
in the mixed cocktail, no odor, no taste. I literally felt like I was drinking the orange juice straight out of the bottle.
oh, I agree. That's one thing that I will give Grey Goose is that as far as its mixability,
Endless.
it's endless and it mixes really well into a variety of different drinks, and it doesn't overpower anything that you're mixing it with. So it turns into just a fantastic cocktail.
I agree, absolutely. I'm going to give it a 5 because I feel like you can just drink it. Even if you're not a vodka guy, this is a very easy one to drink. And again, it's the first vodka we reviewed that in the screwdriver, and we do a lot of screwdrivers, it was odorless and tasteless in the screwdriver. It met the definition that you tell me that that you look for in
True.
vodka.
However, and you give it a 5 in that respect.
Right.
But if you're at an open bar and you have an option between this, Aurora, and Crystal Head in your cocktail, which one are you going to tell them to put it in?
Probably Grey Goose. Crystal Head's going to be...
You're still going to go with Goosey.
Here's why. Crystal Head, going to cost more.
Well, remember, we don't take cost into account on this part.
Probably still Goose.
It's
going to be Goose.
It is just the drinkability alone.
It's going to get... Yeah, if that's where it's an open bar...
It's an open bar.
And I've got
you're not paying for it.
I still take the Goose.
Okay.
It's just become... It's such a staple, and it's remaining a staple even as I'm drinking it for the first time in several months, maybe almost a year, and comparing it against the vodkas that we have done, which, mind you, are very good vodkas in their own turn. However, yeah, I'd still take the Goose.
I wouldn't.
I know you wouldn't. I'm curious.
I wouldn't.
What are you giving it?
As far as drinkability, this one is, it's going to get a 3.5.
All right, so we're giving it a half point jump.
It's going to get a 3.5. It mixes very well. It drinks very well. But I feel like, even in just the ones we've reviewed so far, the Aurora Borealis and the Crystal Head both mixed better, in my opinion, than the Grey Goose did.
And that's totally understandable.
However, that doesn't mean this is horrible. It just means
you feel there's better out there.
If I have the options, I'm going to take one of the other two before I take this one, when cost is notwithstanding.
Well, let's get into that, actually. Cost.
Well, before we get into cost, I want to ask you one more thing on the drinkability.
Go ahead, please.
You're sitting at home. You want a simple cocktail to drink. Is Grey Goose going to be one of the options that you're looking at?
If I'm going vodka, absolutely. That's why I have 2 bottles of it, or I have 1 bottle of the rest.
well, let's be fair. You have one bottle of the rest because, and we'll dig into cost as part of this. Grey Goose compared to both the Aurora Borealis, well, not Aurora Borealis as much, but compared to the Crystal Head, you're half as much.
I agree. Again, though, it's still going to be one of those things where I go, okay, if I want vodka, it's going to be hard for me, especially when I'm at home and I'm just trying to enjoy a drink. It's going to be hard for me to shy away from the Goose.
See, and I can see that for you. For me, it's honestly, as we've been doing these reviews and over these last 5 episodes that we've done, it's taken me this long to get to Grey Goose because he's not my first choice.
And that's fine.
Like, he used to be one of my first choices. It was Grey Goose or Absolute, and or one of the Smirnoff mixed ones, depending on what I was going for.
And here's the thing: when I used to bartend, that's kind of how we gauged vodkas. When I used to bartend, was you had your well, which was your bottom of the barrel alcohol. That was your cheapest. You're just trying to get drunk. Vodka was okay. You got Smirnoff Red Label. You don't care what goes in it. You just want cheap. Okay, here you go. Okay, you want something that's a little bit higher class. We call that alcohol. That was Absolute. And then you had your top shelf. And I was in being a bartender before a lot of the different alcohols and companies started really branching out. So you had, those were your tiers. Top shelf was your Goose. You walked in and you saw it. If the patrons saw it on your bar, it was like, oh, that was your top shelf.
That was your top shelf. There are now other things higher up on the top shelf, and I don't think Grey Goose ever belonged on the top shelf.
It's just one of the first mass-produced, very drinkable vodkas.
I agree. I think he was, at most, Grey Goose is a mid-tier vodka.
I would put it in between a top shelf and a call vodka now, if I had to give it a place in the ranking.
So, to me, he's more of a mid-tier vodka.
But to answer your question, yes, it would definitely be one of the front runners if I was to drink alone. But
okay.
Cost, now this brings up an interesting fact. Grey Goose has, over the years, seen a dramatic shift in its cost from being as high as $50 to $55, and now where it was to where it's at now may shock you a little bit.
Well, so, Grey Goose used to be real high up and real expensive, which is part of where it got that high tier,
high society
label.
Yeah.
But now you can get a bottle of this Grey Goose for about $25.
That's what I paid for. It was $24.99.
And that's the same you paid for the Silver Dollar. Now,
Silver Dollar was $30.
No, you $24.99 is what you paid for the Silver Dollar.
I can't remember. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Anyway, $25. You can get it on sale for $20 or $19 when they go on sale. And Grey Goose goes on sale quite frequently.
It really does, because it is a very, very available drink. Now, for the $25.99 or $24.99, it's not a horrible place for it.
No, it really isn't.
But when you have something like Aurora Borealis that was cheaper,
it was like $20.21, I think.
Yeah, but I think is better. To me, that knocks us down on cost a little bit again. So I got to give this like 3.5 on cost, because it is not the highest tier vodka anymore, and it's in that price range of vodkas. You have a lot more options now.
To be fair to Goose, though, they have adjusted their price to be more competitive for the tier that the original. Because this isn't one of the fancy ones or the limited runs that they do. This is just their basic, everyday, entry level.
You're right.
Vodka.
And they do have some other ones that are, more rare. They're limited runs, and that's fine. And they taste better. They do.
I haven't really experimented with them, so I need to probably experiment with them.
You need to experiment.
I'm going to go with a 4.5. I will give it a 4.5.
But, they're more expensive ones when they come out in their limited runs and things. It's like your bourbons in their limited runs. They have a little bit better taste, a little bit different flavor profile than a standard Grey Goose.
Right.
And so that's how they justify the extra cost. And so for that, I gotta still give him a 3.5. I don't think he's quite. I think he needs to go down another $5
Before you can really give it that.
before I can really bump him up.
So what's your overall then? What would you classify your overall at?
Overall, it's not a horrible vodka. Okay. It's actually still a very decent vodka, very good. He's probably my second choice within that price range. He's second or third instead of first now.
That's fine.
He still does, again, he mixes phenomenally well. So I can't really fault him too much there. Overall, though, I am going to have to give him a 4 because he's not great. He's not terrible. He's a very mid-tier vodka to me.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give the same score you did on that one. I'm not a big vodka guy. However, I think this is probably the highest scoring vodka that I've ever done.
I don't know if he's the highest scoring vodka that you've ever done. He's going to be close, though.
Overall, I always have at least 1 or 2 bottles of it. And the price point to me now is, okay, it stays on the shelf the whole time. It's just part of the repertoire. Again, though, it's Grey Goose. You know what you're getting. You're going to get a nice, clean, good mixing vodka that it's just, here you go. And now that Grey Goose has reduced their prices to the point where it reflects better, yeah, I agree. So what are the totals now?
So you give this thing a 17.5.
That's
which
pretty high for a vodka.
Pretty high, for you, that's very high for a vodka. And here's where things take a weird turn.
What'd you give it?
I give it a 14.
Here's the thing, though. We've had discussions before in the past where I know your feelings about Grey Goose. I know where they were. I know where they are now. But that's also because we've exposed ourselves to a huge variety. And there is a vodka that I picked up on a recommendation in Colorado at one of the local liquor stores there. It scored like a 96 out of 100 on the point scale. I'm really intrigued about this one. And it wasn't even that expensive either.
Right.
We'll get to it later.
We'll get to that one later. But for you to give a vodka higher score than me
is impressive. That says something.
That says something about the vodka. Again.
However, though, we got to look at this way, though. I'm not a huge vodka drinker. I don't drink vodkas and enjoy them the way you do. The same thing with bourbons. I enjoy bourbons a little bit differently than you do. That's where I feel like that's why that's a good mix, because for the people that are more like you, that are the more, I guess, connoisseurs of vodka, they're going to lean more towards what you're saying.
And
guys
I call
like
myself a connoisseur of vodka. I am an enthusiast of vodka.
An enthusiast, okay.
But Grey Goose is still, he's not going to be one of my top tier choices.
All right, that's fair. Well, I think we've goosed it to death.
Yep, I think we have.
All right.
Let's dive into the Old Elk.
So here's what's kind of interesting. Old Elk is from Old Elk Distillery in Colorado. Now, what's interesting to me, though, is they focus on wheated bourbons. They are very heavily a wheated bourbon distillery.
Okay, explain to me the difference between a wheated bourbon
and normal bourbon.
And a normal bourbon.
All right, so I had to learn this myself because in order for a bourbon to be classified as a bourbon, it has to have a. So you know what a mash is? It's a mash bill. The mash bill is what makes up the juice in here. A bourbon has to contain at minimum 51% corn in the mash.
Okay.
For it to be classified as a bourbon and aged minimum 2 years.
Didn't know that there were such strict rules
on
bourbon.
There are very strict rules for bourbon. Absolutely very strict.
Well, just like there's rules on vodka.
Bourbon actually, I feel like makes it to a whole new level. Now,
it does.
This one's called a wheated bourbon, however, is because it has more wheat than corn in the mixture. I don't know what the exact mash bill is on this. However, they have to call it a wheated bourbon because the corn mash is not at that minimum to 51%. Now, obviously, once the mash reaches the corn specs at 51% minimum, you have rye, you have wheat, you have a whole plethora of ingredients that you can play with. Now, this one, however, is And I can't really remember its flavor profile too well, so this is going to be really interesting for me to kind of dig back into this one. It's 46% volume. It's a 92 proof. Shouldn't be too hot.
It's not going to be like that 69%, 129 proof.
Well, however, though, we got to remember something when we did bourbons. They do tend to have a little bit more of a, oddly enough, they have a little bit more of a clove spice up front. So they do tend to have a little bit more heat in them. Needless to say, though, I have nothing but good things to say. And I got this bottle on a recommendation from a person that I talk to quite frequently at one of the local liquor stores that I go to. I agree with him. When I had this, I didn't dislike it. I felt like it was a great pour, actually. And overall, again, we cracked it in celebration of the harvest, a successful hunt. They have a lot of different variations, though. They have some special runs and whatnot. This one is just their cut and dry, bottom of the barrel. Well, it's not bottom of the barrel. I shouldn't say that.
You say bottom of the barrel, it makes it sound like this is not going to be a good one.
I apologize. This is. I don't think anything from Old Elk would be considered bottom of the barrel. That was incorrect of me to say. What are you getting on those there?
You know, and this happens a lot with the bourbons for me.
Okay.
I end up getting a chocolate scent on those.
See, what's interesting is I'm kind of getting that dark cocoa too.
I get the dark cocoa, I get some caramel, and I do
cinnamon spice and getting that heat.
And getting that cinnamon spice and clove that you talked about off the nose.
Get the palatizing taste going there. So I'm getting some caramel. I'm getting that burn, that wheat burn that comes through on wheated bourbons.
You see, I get that at the very, very end.
Mm-hmm. It's weird.
And then it turns into kind of like a cinnamon burn.
That's what the wheat bourbons I've noticed kind of do that. They get a little weird. See, like on that one, I got the cinnamon. I get
the cinnamon. I do get a caramelly taste.
I don't get the chocolate. That's one thing that I think we both know that is not transferring to the palate.
See, it never does.
The only one I feel like that has ever transferred to the palate on chocolate, for me, and we do need to review this one though, is Knob Creek 12. That is the only one I ever gotten the dark chocolate out of.
See, and yeah, but it disappoints me a little bit.
See, now that third hit, sorry folks, that's that wheat burn that sometimes gets you and kind of sneaks up on you. This one its burn is at the tail end. It is 100% in the back. It is on the roll-off.
It is on the roll-off. Now, I do get a little bit of the oak on that last.
I got the smoky oak on that one.
You get a little bit of the smoky oak at the very end. But, that one I feel, I still wish that cocoa came through. But it's not a bad drink. It's a very smooth bourbon.
Right.
Even for as high a proof and as hot as it is, it's a very smooth bourbon. It's a very good drink. And it's one of the few bourbons you've had me try that the progression on it, I feel, actually works really, really well.
Well, and I talk a lot about the best bourbons, in my opinion, are bourbons that as you drink them, they progress in flavor. And that's how I feel like if you're going to spend the money or the extra money on good bourbons, you want that because it's like I don't want to sound corny, but it's like a journey. Because you start with like one or two notes, and then by the fourth drink, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm discovering 3, 4, 5 different flavors here. And you sometimes lose flavors and gain new flavors. It's weird, but it's kind of, I know it's corny, but that's the way I look at a good bourbon is it should be a journey.
See, in this one, I feel like, as far as that criteria goes, it gives you a good journey. Because by that third hit, I lose the cinnamon.
It's not there. It really isn't, no.
Yeah, I lose that cinnamon burn. but I get some other flavors coming in there, and it's actually very good. So for this one, I'm actually going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I think it progresses really, really well. It's a very smooth drink, and it's quite enjoyable.
I agree with you. I'm going to go with 4. It's a solid 4. It's a good. And one thing I want to mention is this one, like Grey Goose, is very readily available. I can walk into any liquor store and find it in the Midwest, like Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, the area that we live in. I can walk in anywhere and find it.
Right. And so, it's super available, and I feel like this one actually, compared to some of the other bourbons that you've given me, that one is one that I actually do enjoy.
I'm glad. I'm actually really glad.
And that brings us into drinkability. This one is one that I might actually get at an open bar without thinking twice about it. And, oh, wait, was that one of the ones that I didn't like?
Well, today we've been doing old-fashioned lately with the bourbon. I decided to go a different route. I also really enjoy whiskey sour. That is something that I've always enjoyed, and bourbons make a beautiful whiskey sour. And this one is not my own blend. This is just a off-the-counter blend that I bought.
See, and one thing that I want to talk to you about, and this may be answered better in a short that we do.
Okay.
You keep knocking on the pre-mixed drinks as if they're not real drinks.
No, they are. It's just, okay, I'm going to be very honest, folks. I used to be a bartender. I used to bartend a lot, and we used to really, the bars I worked at, we used to experiment a lot. We used to make our own old-fashioned mixes. We used to make our own Bloody Mary mixes. We used to make our own whiskey sour mixes. We used to make our own screwdriver mixes and old, like Mai Tai and Hurricane mixes. The reason why I like making my own mixes is clearly the fact of a personal preference where I can go, okay, I like it to have more, for example, on a Hurricane, which is my favorite tropical drink. I like it to have more of a grapefruit citrus flavor than the sweet tropical passion fruit flavor.
See, that's fair. I was curious.
I don't try to knock them, so don't take that the wrong way.
We've had the margarita, and we've had the margarita mix, the whiskey sour mix now, the Hurricane mix, and even the old-fashioned mix. And on each one, it's not a real.
Well,
whatever it is.
They are. Here's one that I will say: if you have the tools to do it at home, do it. It's the old-fashioned. It's night and day difference. Don't get me wrong. I think the mixes over there.
Yeah, the Stirring's old-fashioned.
We used on the Johnny, and it turned it into like what was it, Wassail?
Wassail.
That was awesome. That was a beautiful blend. However, if you can make your own old-fashioned mix and muddle the ingredients, it a whole nother level. Totally whole nother level. And but to be fair, I don't mean to knock it as much as I do. I mean, I usually just get like the Mr. and Mrs. T's ones. Yeah, like literally, that's literally what this is. I found these ones, this brand, as far as these types of mixes for like either like a Hurricane or a margarita to be the best ones that I can personally find.
And that's fine. I just wanted to know why you keep knocking on them. But let's try this whiskey sour.
He makes a good whiskey sour.
That is a very interesting drink.
Have I actually ever made you a whiskey sour?
No, because again, at our get-togethers, I'm usually grabbing goose,
right,
and orange juice.
One thing he does need, though, this is something I am missing here. Hold tight for a second here. He's just. I poured a little too much of that. Poured a little too much of mix in there.
See, and that's what I was thinking as I drank that.
I knew.
I don't think this is mixed right because this just tastes like.
So kind of zhuzhing a little there. That's what my wife calls it, zhuzhing. All right, let's go back in here.
Okay, that is different.
That is different. That's a shot and a half that we should have had in there to begin with this type of mix.
I think for the volume of mix,
I'm not really getting. There's no burn.
No, the burn itself turns into the sour.
It's the sour.
The sour, because like I said before, you added that extra half shot, it tastes like lemonade, and that burn just mixes into the sour and blends in and goes away.
Drink the whole thing in one shot now. You'll get it. I got that smoke in that sour turned into that oaky smoke and blended with the mix.
Oh no, it blended really, really well. But I think the shot and a half is what we needed to begin with.
That's gonna bump him up for me. That's gonna go 4.5 on that one. That's really interesting for me to get that type of a. We're actually got to add more to get him to punch up. That means it's a very, very drinkable, and not only that, but a very mixable bourbon.
I agree. Rare. I'm gonna give him a 4 on drinkability.
Okay.
Because I feel like if he does that well in the whiskey sour, in the old fashioned, I think he would do just as well. Mm-hmm. And like I said, he's one of the few that, Old Elk bourbon. I want to try something different than vodka tonight. Yeah, I'll go with an Old Elk bourbon.
Okay.
And so far, there's only been a couple of the brown liquors that really would take over for a vodka drink for me.
All right, so I'm going to give you the same question you gave me then. Old Elk, so if you're at an open bar, Old Elk, and I know you've had Knob Creek 12 year, we haven't reviewed it, but I'm throwing that one out there because it's not fair for me to throw the Delmore out there because that's a single malt scotch. The Knob Creek 12 or the Elijah Creek Toasted, and we haven't reviewed the Toasted either, but I know you like the Toasted.
Well, I'm going to take the Old Elk.
Okay, I figured you would because the Toasted's a pretty good runner-up eventually when we review that one for you.
It is a pretty good runner-up, but of those 3 bourbons,
hands down. You notice I didn't put the Elijah Creek Barrel Proof in there, right?
I noticed you didn't put the Elijah Creek Barrel Proof in there, but still, of those 3, hands down, Old Elk beats them out. Now, if you add other brown liquors into that, then we get a little tricky.
However,
for a bourbon, he wins. For a brown liquor,
we got
some competition. It's the same as with the Grey Goose. I didn't give you the choice of other clears. I give you the choice of vodkas.
I agree. Okay, let's get into cost. Cost on him gets a little...
Did I even tell you what my score on drinkability was?
You give him a 4. You did tell everybody.
I did. I did remember.
All right.
I'm getting there, folks.
You're getting there.
Not really, but
I paid $50.
You paid $50.
And I'm going to start off by saying that I've seen him anywhere from 50 to 55 to 56. So he's right in that very mid-tier bourbon range. Because, your bottom of the barrel is going to be like your Jim Beam White Label and your Jack Daniels, where you're around that $15 to $25 range. And then you're going to go into what I call the mid-tier, which is your $30 to your $60 tier. And that gets pretty heated and competitive. However, it's not near as deadly and as dangerous living in that $60 to $90 tier. Personally, to me, Old Elk, I have not tried any of Old Elk's other offerings. I need to. There's a couple that I really do. This one, however, I do feel he is a tad overpriced.
Overpriced?
I do. Not much. Like, we're nitpicking in here a little bit. I feel like he's a $45 bourbon.
Okay, so much like he's a $20 vodka.
Yes. And you can get him anywhere between, like I said, 50, 56 on any given day, and you can walk into almost any liquor store in the Midwest and get him.
Okay. Now, so I'm going to guess that means your score's around 3.5.
I'm going to give him a 3.5 on that, just because, again, we talk about the competition in this market. Because for $50, I'm going to tell you right now, and we haven't reviewed this bourbon. We'll talk about him more later. Woodford Double Oak, I can get him anywhere, anytime, any place. $60 all day long, and he's available, like I said, anytime.
Okay.
However, this Old Elk is in that category.
He's in that category. And for me, personally...
What you got?
He's underpriced.
He's underpriced. Okay, folks, this is really interesting, because here's why this is interesting to me. This is the second brown liquor that he has underpriced. The first one was the Kenichi rum.
This is true. Now, my comparison of bourbons is not as vast as yours.
I understand that.
But from my comparison of bourbons, which ranges about 8 or 9 different bourbons now.
Right.
For me, he is top of the top, best of the best one I've had of all of them.
What would you pay for him?
First choice every time. He's the one I'd spend the $90 on.
Holy crap. Old Elk, do you hear that? This guy right here is willing to spend $90 on your bourbon.
He's the one I'd spend $90 on. You take that Elijah Craig that we had, and he's the one I'd pay $50 for.
Okay, then.
So for me, solid 5 out of 5 on price, because that is an excellent spot for him to be. Because now we'll buy him every year.
Justin, this is funny to me. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. We're having this
weird flip flop thing
going on here between. So I really like that we actually have done these two like this, because, to be honest with you folks, I really didn't remember the flavor profile too well of this. We got back after harvesting his deer at whatever time.
Just 9.
I don't remember, and all I know is we were hungry, we were thirsty, and we were just absolutely excited. And
we were excited and exhausted.
Stuff happened.
So
we really didn't drink that much actually that night. We were too tired.
We were too tired to drink too much that night, but we did have a few shots, and then we slept in for the first time on that trip.
Oh, yeah, actually, you're right.
Don't even.
Bull, but I was like, nope. I remember dragging us out of bed every morning at 4 a.m.
Every morning at 4 a.m. or earlier.
Yeah.
And so,
overall score. I want to give this one to you. What's your overall score? What you got, bud?
My overall thoughts on Old Elk is he's an extremely drinkable drink, whether it be neat or mixed.
Okay.
He did really, really well on that whiskey sour. It tasted a lot like a lemonade with a kind of a smoky, oaky flavor.
I would agree with that.
And a tinge of cinnamon.
Okay, so you did get the cinnamon in that.
I get a tinge of cinnamon.
I didn't get any cinnamon in that. All right, that's cool.
Just a tinge.
That's cool. I like that.
But he, again, mixed really well. Was good to drink neat. Not my favorite to drink neat, but great and drink neat.
We're breaking you in though on drinking them neat though. In all fairness, you have to work up to that. And folks,
I do.
You do have to work up on that.
You have to work up on the bourbons. But even with the workup that you've done for me, he's still one of my favorite. It's not, and I've tried the other ones recently, and he's still my favorite.
That's good.
And as far as cost, if he changes cost, goes up $10-$20, I'm not going to complain. He's still worth it.
So what do you? Is it safe to assume you're giving him a 5?
It is safe to assume I'm giving this full solid 5 out of 5 as far as my overall score on this goes, because he did really, really well. And if you come up to me and ask me, what is your recommendation for a bourbon, I'm going to tell you, go buy Old Elk to start, because he will break you into the bourbon world. He's not overly expensive, but he tastes phenomenal, and he will get you into the bourbon world on a really nice journey and work really well the whole way.
Well, and here's what's interesting that you mentioned that. To get someone broken into the bourbon world, and I apologize to you, I did not.
You did it wrong.
I did it wrong, folks, and that was my fault for lack of experience. Weeded bourbons are a very good way to introduce people into the bourbon and whiskey environment. And
well, let's see, we talked about, I come from the vodka environment, which, as we talked about, most of your vodkas are from wheat.
Or potato, right?
Wheat and potato. But most of the high-end ones that we've done
have been corn.
Well, they've been corn, which surprises me.
Well, that Crystal Head blew me away that it was corn.
I agree.
Like, I bought the Silver Dollar knowing it was corn, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of cool. I've never seen corn one.
But your vodkas, the majority of them are wheat. And so you want to take somebody from this clear liquor vodka area and take them into a brown, dark area.
Right.
Going wheated, I think, is the perfect route.
You know what? It's funny you mention that, because you're talking about the same element here.
It's wheat.
It's wheat. We're transitioning the sale here.
It's just it depends on how the wheat is
great.
Flavored, spiced, and aged. And the vodka, the way it's aged, it turns clear and tastes
Do we
pretty
actually
good.
know how long It's aged? The
I
goose?
don't. I'm
many
actually
times
not
is it
even sure
distilled?
there's an age.
Or how many times? Well, we've been seeing a lot of this. Oh, it's distilled 7 times. It's distilled 20 times. Do we know how many times it's distilled?
I don't know how many times Grey Goose is distilled.
If you know, please let us know.
I know it's filtered through limestone instead of diamonds.
That was kind of funny, though. I'll give the guy that owns Crystal Skull that, dude, your diamonds, dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, you're filtering it through diamonds, so, good for you. But the way that it's aged in there, it's...
Rika is filtered through, what was it, lava rock?
Rika is filtered through lava rock.
We haven't done Rika yet, folks. We'll get to that one.
He's going to be fun. But yeah, Rika is filtered through lava rocks. And then, I don't remember what the silver dollar was filtered through.
I don't either. Anyway,
but
I'm going to give it a 4. And here's the thing. For me, I get more technical and more hard on bourbons. And here's the thing. This is a solid bourbon, no questions asked. If you are at the liquor store and you're like, hey, I want a bourbon that is going to be a good drinking bourbon that maybe, hey, I want to show off to my friends a little bit or my colleagues here. Excellent. Bourbon.
So
I will
excellent bourbon. And it has this really cool cork that even if after the bottle's gone, we're saving the cork.
That is a pretty cool cork, actually, for everybody to see that. I mean, that is... They actually do a really nice design. The bottle itself is actually, I will say, a very nicely done bottle.
I think the bottle is kind of, a generic decanter style.
I like it, though.
But the cork, awesome. Now,
one thing I do want to touch on, though, is it is Christmas, and people are often buying presents for their loved ones. However, though, one thing that we fail to mention is our colleagues, bosses, work, because that's a thing.
This is true.
I always look at it this way. I have 2 families, folks. I have my family that I spend time with here, this is obviously not my wife. My wife is a lot prettier than this.
I would hope so.
I hope so too, Lord.
Even as much as he's drank tonight, I would hope I'm less pretty than his wife.
You're still pretty ugly.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I like that answer.
Anyway, I always say I have 2 families. I have the family that I spend my 8 to 12 hours a day at work with, and then I have my family that I come home to, which is in my personal life. Like a lot of us at work, normal jobs. However, when we get to this time of year, which is Christmas, we do tend to have that gift of giving and that gift of charity. And both of these are amazingly good offers to our colleagues in the work environment to give.
These are things that I would give to my colleagues after hours.
Absolutely.
Now, this is one that I would give to a colleague who puts in the same effort I do, the same amount of work I do, and I feel like actually helps me get my job and makes work worth coming to. This is one that I'm going to give to a colleague who is in the same department as me, and I recognize that they do work, but they don't.
You're just on the team, man.
You're on the team and you are helpful to the team, but I feel like you could do more. And that's more of a difference in price, but it's also, in my opinion, you got to know your audience, because that person who does...
absolutely.
Who, like I said, this is the guy that does some work and helps a little bit.
Yes.
He may love vodka and think this is the best gift ever.
Right.
And if I give this to the guy that I feel like is making my job easier and he doesn't like bourbon,
it's a bad gift.
It's a bad gift.
However, though, for $50, I feel like if you have like a mentor or a boss that has been knockout, hands down stellar to you, or even a regional leader,
a
this
boss,
would not be a bad option. Neither one. They're going to look at it.
Know your audience, but I feel like either one of these.
Even a family member. If you have a bourbon lover in your family and you're trying to, hey, I want to go a step above that bottom tier that we always talk about, but yet I don't have the funds or I don't necessarily want to go into that upper echelon. Yes, that is an
great one. Now, you kind of cut me off a little bit.
I apologize.
It's all right. It happens. This one, for the boss or the mentor or the colleague that you feel like makes your job easier, as long as you find out what type of liquor they like.
Absolutely.
If they like the dark liquors, this would be a fantastic gift. So you like the clear liquors, I would suggest something more like the Crystal Skull or the Aurora Borealis.
You know what's one is actually interesting, and it's the one that we first reviewed.
Silver Dollar?
Because it's unique. I really do like backstory and the mash bill and the distilled blend.
You know, and I really do like the Silver Dollar as a vodka. It scored higher than the Grey Goose did for me.
Which I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised.
So the Silver Dollar would be an excellent one as well as if you can get it in your area. But again, both excellent gifts, but know your audience.
Absolutely. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty. What were the totals, bud? We flip-flopped. I know we flopped.
We absolutely flip-flopped on this.
What'd you get?
What'd
I get?
Gave him a 16. Which is not a bad score.
That's a solid bourbon. That is a solid bourbon.
That's a solid bourbon score. That's a solid score. It's the same score we give the Walther P22 on our earlier review.
Okay.
So it is still a solid, good review, which means he would recommend it.
Absolutely, I would.
I, on the other hand,
I take yes. You were a 17 or 17 and a half.
You're wrong.
Whatever.
Go up.
No.
Go up.
Are you an 18?
I am an 18. This bourbon.
We've got 2 Christmas miracles today, folks.
3.
3.
You gave this a higher score than you gave this.
I think you knew that was coming, though, on the Grey Goose.
I did not.
Okay.
I expected him to get slightly lower.
No. And that's
So,
Grey Gooses anyway.
3, in my opinion. The Grey Goose wins for you.
Okay.
The Old Elk wins for me. As far as our liquors.
Awesome.
Now, I give him an 18 because he is such a good liquor. He brings you into the bourbon world. And unlike the first one that I got brought into the world with, which was the
Elijah Craig.
Well, was it the Elijah or was it the?
No, because there was some we played with. Honestly, I think the very first.
I don't remember what the first.
I think
one
it was the Knob Creek 12.
Was it the Knob Creek?
I think it was the Knob Creek 12, and then we went into because you had the 1792. No, it was the Knob Creek 12 and the 1792.
Yeah, because you gave me 2 of them at the same time.
Yeah,
no, you gave me 3 at the same time.
Well, then we touched into the, and I know this one's very popular. I need to try this one again, but it was a Smoke Wagon.
Yeah, and I don't think I agreed with Smoke Wagon.
Smoke Wagon was very harsh on both of us. Those were the 3 that you started with.
You gave me those 3 to start with, and none of those 3 are really starter bourbons.
Well, there's one that is. However, I gave it to you right smack dab in the middle of the Knob Creek and the Smoke Wagon. The 1792 is absolutely a starter bourbon. However,
we'll dig back into the 1792 on another one. But either way, you dipped me in the wrong way, and instead of you kind of threw me in the deep end.
Here's the thing though. In all reality, I was still experimenting with bourbons myself.
This is true. You were still learning the bourbon area, but the Old Elk reaches out with a warm, welcoming hand. Come join me on a fantastic journey, and gently brings you into the bourbon world.
I don't want to get copyrighted here, but I have such the.
I know you have a horrible joke there.
No, it's not a joke. It's an awesome reference. But
I know what reference I think I know what reference you're going for, but we won't dig into that. However,
it is Christmas, folks.
He is the perfect entrance.
I'm really glad actually that you are really enjoying this one now, and now we're in more of a relaxing environment where we actually are able to enjoy what Old Elk really is.
Right.
I think we got 2 really good offerings here. Folks, we really appreciate you guys supporting us. We're really trying to make a go at this. And again, we're just 2 guys trying to help you guys out because, like you guys,
we're 2 guys trying the liquor so you don't have to.
Well,
we spent the $50 and the $100 and the $80 and
a lot.
We've spent a lot to try the different liquors to let you know what is worth it and what
may not be. And that's just it.
And on this episode, we've shown I love vodka. It is my go-to drink. But he's not. He's his choice, but not mine.
Same thing. We've proven the same ideal where this is now your favorite bourbon. However, if I was to pick bourbon, I have
3 or 4,
I have
5
probably
others.
4 others that I will pass the order for, and that's okay, folks. We look at it this way: drink whatever you like to drink, whatever makes you happy. That is what's most important at the end of the day. We say this in our firearms a lot. It does no good. I can tell you what the best is. He can tell you what the best is. If it doesn't feel right to you,
It's wrong.
it's wrong. Like, both of us have...
There are techniques that may feel wrong to begin with, but that you need to use. But in the end, if the firearm feels wrong in the right technique, it's wrong.
Same thing with alcohol. If it doesn't taste good, I don't care what anyone says.
Stop trying to be macho, guys.
Just drink what you enjoy.
I love fruity drinks. I really do.
My favorite, you know what my favorite fruity drink is?
Is it the Hurricane?
It is absolutely a flippin' Hurricane, man.
You know,
And it's not because of Jimmy Buffett and Alan Jackson. I love Hurricanes.
I love a drink called Jolly Rancher.
Oh, yeah, the Jolly Rancher.
Jolly Rancher. It's a great drink. But honestly, I would walk up to a bar and order a Shirley Temple if I liked it. Because I don't care what anybody thinks. If it is not the right liquor for you, don't do it.
You know which one got us really hammered? It was the Buzz Lightyear, wasn't it?
The Buzz Lightyear.
That one messed us up good.
He really did.
We went to infinity. I think we went
And beyond. We went beyond.
We definitely went on
There's a drink called the Buzz Lightyear that you can look up online.
It's
It's a fantastic drink, and he
plan on
does take
spending
you.
the night.
Which leads us into our ending. Of course, everyone, please like and subscribe us if you like what you've seen here today. And the most important thing, safety. Be safe.
Guns and alcohol do not mix.
And never drink and drive.
We have so many options now, folks. We don't just have taxis. We have Uber. We have Lyft. We have your buddy's couch over here.
We have taxis still.
We still have taxis, yes.
And, you know, even then, designated driver program is a wonderful
Absolutely.
program. Utilize it. And if you're not going to utilize the designated driver program, Uber or Lyft, please.
Well,
Be
here's the
safe.
thing. It's Christmas right now. I actually hope that they're going to do this again this year. Wasn't it last year that Lyft and Uber actually offered free rides
So last
home?
year, on Christmas Eve and on
New Year's,
New Year's
right?
Eve, Lyft, Uber, and taxi services all offered free rides home.
There's no excuse, guys. Absolutely no excuse this year.
Do not drink and drive. We have seen horrible, horrible results of that far too often. We don't want to see them anymore.
Also,
No more.
folks, before we go, we do want to let you guys know we have been listening. We've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of people asking us, hey, can you do some shorts? So today...
I have a quick question. Can you answer this quick question for me? We are going to start answering those quick questions for everybody. We're going to do them in little shorts. We'll have a new playlist on our channel called Shorts. And it will
I'm
have...
wearing pants, though.
Wrong kind of shorts, my dude.
Oh, okay.
But we will have answers to your questions, to your comments. Whether the comment is online or not, you've given it to us in person. If you know who we are and see us every day, we will answer it to the best of our knowledge. And you know what, everybody? Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I feel like I'm forgetting another important holiday.
Merry Kaliki Maka!
Please forgive my colleague, folks. He's drunk.
I am not. It's the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day.
I don't know that song, but I also don't know many Christmas songs. Whatever holiday you are celebrating this season, have a happy one. Have a safe one.
Merry Christmas.
Live long and prosper.
That's not... I'm not Star Trek. I'm Star Wars.
I looked back and I saw you doing this.
No, I'm not Star Trek. I'm Star Wars, buddy.
Whatever. Anyway, be safe, folks. Have a great holiday. And we'll
Cheers.
see you next year. Good night.
Good night.